Hi everyone, welcome to Bangalore Django user group. This is Arul Murugan and today we are going to see about one of the important feature included in Django 1.5, which is configurable user models. That is, we can create a model for creating the user backend. So it is one of the important changes in Django 1.5. So for creating a user model, we need to specify the model class in one of your module in your Django application, and we need to refer that model in your settings.py using the setting auth underscore user underscore model. It is a dotted pair which represents the module name dot model name. And before, when we want to refer the user table in a foreign key, we will be importing the model table from django.contrib.auth.models. But now we have a function called get underscore user underscore model. This will return the current user model which is being used, and we can use this in any foreign keys for user references. So in defining a user model, we can have our own set of fields. It could be anything. For example, we could include first name, last name, email, mobile, like that. And you should tell the table which should be used as a username field. For example, if you like to use the email field as a username field, you need to mention username field is equal to email under the model. And what are the fields required? That should also be mentioned in this model using the attribute required models. And we will be creating a user model by extending the existing model from auth user, that is abstract base user, which will give you the following functions, that is get username, is anonymous, is authenticated, set password, check password, set usable password, and has usable password. These functions will be very helpful when you want to assign a password for the user or authenticate the user. And if you want your model to be work with the Django admin, you should include 4 fields, that is staff, is active, has perm, has module perms. These 4 should be included in your model if you want your model to work with Django admin. And you can extend the permissions of your Django model using permissions mixing, which is existing in the auth module of Django installation. So it will give you the hash perm and hash module perms by default. So you don't have to write your custom codings for defining permissions for modules. And for creating a user and creating a super user, we need to define a user manager. The user manager, which is existing by default, will be taking the username, email, and password by default. But if you want to change the fields for creating a user and super user, you need to define your custom user manager, and we will be seeing this in the following demo session. So from the base user manager, you will be getting a normalize email function. That is, the normalize email function will change the domain part of the supplied email to lowercase, and the make random password function can be used to create a random password for the users created in the user manager. So let us see a demo now for how to create a custom user model. So I'm going to use Eclipse for creating my Django project and typing the code. So I'm creating a Django project using Django 1.5 here. So I'm naming the project DJ15, and I have set up interpreter named DJ15. I'm using that. I have installed Django 1.5 already. So I'm using MySQL. So I'm defining the database name as DJ15. So now I have created a Django project. Now I will create a database for this application. So now I have created a database. So let us start creating a custom user model. Let me create a module in this application first. So I'm creating a module which is named custom underscore auth. So we will be creating a custom user model and the forms and admin for this user profile in this model. So I'm creating a model for using as a custom user model. So I'm naming this class as user profile, and I'm going to extend this using abstract user, which could be imported from the auth module of the Django installation. So I'm doing the import here. So we will be using the auth models in various places of this models file. So I'm just importing the auth models as auth underscore model so that it will be easy for us to understand which models we are using. So what I'm doing is I'm going to extend this model using abstract user, which abstract base user, which could be imported from the auth models. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define three fields, which will be email, so I'm going to use the email field as the username field. So what I have to do is it should be unique. So I'm passing the unique attribute to this field. So I'm making this unique true, and I'm going to add another field mobile number, so which I call mobile. Since mobile numbers will be containing 10 digits, it won't be good to use integer field, so I'm using a char field here. So I want my custom module to work with Django admin. So I'm including the field is staff. So there should be a Boolean field to check whether the user has a login or permission to view the Django admin site. So we have defined the fields which we are going to use now, and now we have to define which is the username field and what are all the required fields. So I'm going to use the email field as username field. So I'm going to mention it here. Next to this, we should specify which fields are required. So I need both email ID and the mobile number for all the users. So I'm going to specify required field here. The required field attribute should be a list or tuple. So I'm specifying this as a list. And while specifying required fields, please make sure that your username is not included in the required fields list. And we have to specify a manager, that is which user manager should be used for creating the user and super user. But as I told before, if you want to override the fields in the default Django auth module, we need to specify our custom user manager. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a custom user manager. So we can just extend the existing user manager to create a custom user manager. So I will write this above this user model. So I'm naming my custom user manager as custom user manager. So we have extended the base user manager from auth models. So first I need to define a function for creating normal users. So I'm writing a function define create underscore user, and this will be taking the parameters. The shelf is a default parameter. Apart from this, I'm passing the parameters email, mobile, and password. So inside this, I'm creating a user. So what I'm doing is I'm going to normalize the email address. That is, the normalized email will what it will do is it will just convert the domain portion of the email into lowercase. Even if the user types it in uppercase, it will convert the domain portion into lowercase. Also, I have a mobile number field, so I'm including that field also here. So we have passed the basic fields of the user. For example, we have passed the email field and the mobile field, and we should now pass the set the user staff access. Only if we set this to true, the user can log in into the Django admin site. So we have granted the login access to the user, and we need to set the password for the user. For that, we are going to use the set password function. So I'm just using the raw password entered by the user and making it encrypted password. Actually, this set password is being inherited from the default auth module of Django installation. So the password will be encrypted here, and after this we are going to save the user. So we have passed all the required parameters. So we are going to save the user, and you can specify your database here. So I'm just using whichever database which is being used now. So at last, after saving, I'm returning the user here. So this is for creating a user, and for creating a super user, it won't be much complex. It'll be more likely the same. Only the super user permission we have to add in this function. So it will be same for the super user. Only the super user access has to be assigned here. So we have granted the user staff access, and we are going to grant the user now super user status. So I'm just setting is super user is equal to true. So this will make sure that the user will be super user, which will whoever created using this function. So I have a mobile number here, but any data could be entered in it. So I need to do a validation to make sure that only numerical values are being entered in this field. If you are going to create a user using a form, we could do a form validation, but create user and create super user command can also be used in a command line. So I cannot use a form validation there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to validate the field here itself. So I'm just going to write a basic validation using regular expression, which is going to check for the existence of 10 numerical values and non-existence of it should not contain any alphabets or symbols. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for 10 digits in the value mobile. If it is not matching the pattern, I'm going to raise a value error. So I have now included the validation for the mobile number. So if the mobile number is not in the correct format, it will raise a value error even in the command line for creating users and super user. So we have now defined a custom user manager and we are going to use it in our custom user model. So for using the custom user manager, we need to specify it as objects. So I'm just specifying the custom user manager's name here. So apart from this, we are going to specify some functions which are get full name. So these functions will help you to return normalized a formal value or an informal value. For example, if you are defining first name and last name, you could return both of them together. For example, you could return first name plus Latin last name in the function get full name. So I'm just returning email address here. So we could also include a function for checking the staff status of the user. So what we can return is we could just return the value of the is staff field. So that would work. So we have now created a basic custom user model and a custom user manager. So what we are going to do next is we are going to create an admin screen for this and a form. So how should we present the screen to the users? So I'm going to create a file admin.py in this module. So in this file, first we are going to create a user creation form. For example, what are the fields that should be displayed when creating a user and what are the validations that should be handled. So I'm just creating a form named user creation form. So while creating a user, we need to specify a password, but we haven't included a password field in our model. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to include the password field here. So we need two password fields, one for getting the password and another one for confirming the password. So I'm just naming them password 1 and password 2. So they are just cap field and with the password input widget. So I'm including a label here for easier identification. So I have created the password fields now, and now I'm going to specify the model in the meta class of this form. So for that we need to import the form from our model. So I'm just going to do it here. So we need to include only two fields here. So the fields are email and mobile. So we now have to do the validation part of for the password fields. For example, both of the password should match. For that is the password 1 field and the password 2 field should match. Then only the user can be created. So I'm going to write a validation for checking the passwords here. So I'm getting the value of the password fields here from the self parameter. Self.clean data of password will get you the value of the password field. So now we have value of both the password fields. So we should check whether they are same, and then we can create the user. So I'm writing a condition here for to check it is same or different. So both of the values should exist and they should be different. So what I'm going to do is password 1 should not be equal to password 2. So that is the condition here. And so if they are not equal, I'm going to raise a validation error here. So I have written an error message here. So we have created a validation, and at last I'm returning the password value here. So after this validation, I'm just going to write a save method here where we are going to set the password for the user. So I just mentioned commit is equal to false here because we need to save this model only after assigning the password to the user. So I'm assigning the password in the next line, that is user dot set underscore password. So what we are going to do is we just need to get the value from the forms, that is self dot clean data of password 1, and assign this password to the user. So I'm just copying this and pasting this here. After this, we could just say save it. So after assigning the password, we are saving this model. So we have created a farm now. Now we need to create an admin class for displaying this to the users. So we are creating an admin class now. So I'm going to name it as user profile admin. So this will be used to display this user creation form to the users. So we have defined a user creation form, and we need to define a change form for modifying the users. So we could define that here. So I'm going to create another form called user change form. So for the password field, we should not display the raw password here. So what we need to do is we are going to display a read-only value of the encrypted password. So I'm going to import a field which is called read-only password hash field, which can be imported from Django auth forms. So I'm going to import it from auth module of Django installation. So I have imported a read-only password hash field. So this field will be containing the encrypted read-only value of the user entered password. So the model we are using is user profile, as you know. So I'm mentioning the model name here. Also, I'm defining a initial value for the password field. So we have now created a user creation form and a user change form. So we need to create an admin class for displaying the user forms. So I'm creating an admin class here, and I'm naming it user profile admin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this admin class with the base user admin, which could be imported from the auth module of Django installation. So I'm just going to import it here. So we need to specify the change form and add form here. So for specifying the change form, we can use the value form. So I'm going to mention user change form here. And for add form, we are going to use the user creation form. So we have mentioned the forms now. And in list display, I'm going to include 3 fields. So which is going to be the username field email, and another required field mobile, and the field which could tell us whether the user is a super user or not. So, and I'm also going to specify ordering here. I'm going to order the records using the email field. So we have created a custom user model and a custom user manager for creating super users and normal user. And we have also defined a user creation form, a user change form, and a admin class for displaying these user forms. So we are going to see this in action now. So I'm switching to the terminal to do syncdb and running the local server. So I have already created the database, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run the syncdb command. So I forgot to do one thing. So we have created a auth module here, but we need to mention that our custom user model in settings.py. So I'm enabling the admin application in Django, and then I'm including our custom auth module here. So after that, I'm specifying which is our auth user model. So which is custom auth dot user profile. I'm also enabling the URL patterns for accessing the Django admin site. So now I'm switching to the terminal and doing syncdb for creating the database tables. Sorry, I haven't specified a max length attribute in the char field. As you can see now, usually during the syncdb process, when you want to create a super user, the first field which we would be the username field. But now we are using the email field as username field. So it is asking for the email directly instead of asking for a username. So I'm specifying a dummy username here, dummy email here. So it is throwing an error. Let me check it, please. So we have defined a admin class, but we are yet to register it. So what I'm doing is I'm just registering the user profile admin here. So we have now registered the admin class here. So I'll just drop the database and recreate it again. So let me create the super user after doing the syncdb. So I'm creating the super user using the command python manage.py create super user. So I'm passing a dummy email here. Actually, I made a mistake here. The parameter for required field should be required fields in plural and not in singular. I have mentioned this as required field instead of fields. So that was the problem. So I'm just giving some random values here and a password. As you can see, I have specified that the mobile number should be a 10-digit numerical value. I have entered only 4 digits here, so it is throwing me a value error as we have specified here. So I'm creating the super user again. Now I'm going to give a 10-digit value. So the super user is created successfully now, and I'm going to run the development server. So it is now telling us that the user profile admin has a field username which is not there. So what we are going to do is we are going to override the field set. So for that we need to create a custom field set in our user profile admin. So I'm just defining a field set here which will override the existing admin field set. So I'm not going to give any title to the field set, so I'm specifying it as none, and it will be containing the fields email and password. So after this I'm going to define another field set which is going to be personal info. So in this field set I'm going to define the display the mobile number of the user. So this field set will be used for the change form. So I'm going to define another field set for user creation form, so it is add field sets. So in user creation form, we are going to get we are going to have four fields, which will be email, mobile, password 1, and password 2. So it is throwing me another error. Let me check it. So here we are not using the default groups of Django. So we need to unregister it in the admin class. So I'm just going to import the group here and unregister it. So in the admin side, we are not going to use the default groups of Django. So I'm just unregistering the group. So let me check the error now. So I'm just overriding the default list filter here. So now we have the admin screen of Django. So it will usually ask for the username and password, but we have overridden the Django auth model, and now it is asking for email and password. So I'm just applying the email used for super user creation here. So as I have mentioned during the presentation, we should define the hash module poems in the custom user model. So I'm going to define it now. So the custom user model should contain the hash module poems and hash poem functions, but if we extend it using the auth module's permissions mixin, it will be available by default. So I'm just going to drop the database and create the user again for the super user field to create. So we are missing a function here. It is get short name. So I'm going to define that function also. So as you can see now, the change user page contains the fields username and email and password as we have defined here. And for add form, we are going to define another field set. So if we want to create a user, so have mentioned the fields email, mobile, password 1 and password 2, as you can see here. So this is for using the this will be used in the user creation form. So it is asking for the 4 fields: the email, username, type password, and retype password. But when we want to change a user information, it will display only the email and read-only password hash field as we have defined here. So this is how we create a custom user model in Django 1.5. And thank you for watching this session. This slides will be shared in my SlideShare account, slideshare.net/arulemma, and I will be uploading this Django project in my GitHub account, github.com/arulemma. And this video can be watched in our YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/bangalore.dug, and you can email your queries to arul@arulemma.com. Thank you.